Okay, I'm having a look at balancing chemical reactions and how we can do that. So I've got a couple of examples to work through, and I'm going to use the same process each time. So we've got our equation here where we've got H2O plus K2O plus KOH, and we're wanting to balance that reaction. So firstly, I want to go through and look at how many of each type of atom that I have. So I've got hydrogen, oxygen, and potassium. Now hydrogen, I've got 2 on this side in the reactants. For my oxygen, I've got 1 here and 1 here, so that's 2 altogether. And for my K, I've got the 2 there. Over here, I've got 1 of each. So to start with, I want to try just doubling what I've got here. So then I look and check, that would go to 2, that would go to 2, that will go to 2. So I've now got a balanced reaction. On to question 2 here. I've got H2O goes to H2 plus O2. So I want to write down what types of atoms I have. So for my reactants, I've got hydrogen and oxygen. For my products, hydrogen and oxygen. Counting how many atoms I've got. So I've got 2 hydrogen atoms and I've got 1 oxygen atom. For my reactants, for my products, I've got 2 hydrogen atoms and I've got 2 oxygen atoms. So I don't have enough oxygen on this side. So I'm going to start by putting a 2 in front of my H2O. Now that means my new numbers are going to be 4 and 2 because I have the H2, 2 lots of that, 2 lots of 2 is 4, and the 2 lots of oxygen is 2. Over here then, I don't have enough hydrogen. So if I put a 2 in front of my hydrogen, I now have 4 hydrogen and I still have my 2 oxygen. So I now have a balanced reaction. Here we've got oxygen plus nitrogen and we're going to N2O. So I'm going to write down my atoms first. So I've got my oxygen atoms and my nitrogen atoms on both sides. And then I've got 2 oxygens on this side, I have 2 nitrogens. Over here, I've got 1 oxygen and 2 nitrogen. So I obviously need more oxygen, so for my first step, I'm going to put a 2 in front of the N2O. That means I now need to change my numbers here. So I now have 2 oxygens, because I've got 2 lots of 1, and I've got 2 lots of 2 nitrogens, so I now have 4. Looking over here then, I now need more nitrogens. So if I put a 2 in front of that, 2 times 2 is going to give me 4, and then I have a balanced equation. Having a look at a few more examples on the next page. So I've got sodium and iodine. So I have my Na and my I on both sides. I've got 1 sodium atom here, and I have 2 iodine that are joined together for the I2. Then I've got 1 of each in that molecule there. So I need more iodine atoms on the second side. So if I put a 2 in front, that'll give me the 2 iodine that I want. However, it's going to give me 2 sodium, and I only have 1 on this side. So to keep it balanced, I'm going to put a 2 there, which will take my sodium numbers to 2. Then I've got 2 sodium on each side, 2 iodine on each side. Here we've got Cl2, Ki, KCl, and I2. So my atoms are chlorine, potassium, and iodine. So I've got 2 chlorine atoms there, and I've got 1 potassium atom and 1 iodine atom. Here I've got 1 chlorine, I've got 1 potassium, and I've got 2 iodine. So I need to have more of my chlorines, so I'm going to put a 2 in front here. That increases my chlorine to 2, and it also increases my potassium to 2. Now I have 2 iodine, but I want 2 potassium over here, 2 iodine over here. So I put a 2 here. That's going to up my potassium and my iodine to 2, which is what I needed for the other side. So it is now balanced. We've got H2O plus Na, H2 plus NaOH. So I've got H O and Na on both sides. So here I've got 2 H's, I've got 1 oxygen, and I've got 1 sodium. Here I've got 2 H's, I've got 1 oxygen, and I've got 1 sodium, but there's another H there, so altogether I have 3 hydrogens. Now I need to start balancing that, so obviously I need more hydrogens. So if I put a 2 here, that's going to take me to 4 hydrogens, 2 oxygens, but then that means I don't have the right number of oxygens or hydrogens. So if I put a 2 in front there, that's going to then take me to 6. Let me just double check. How many have I got? 2 hydrogens there plus 1 there times 2 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4 hydrogens. It gives me 2 oxygens and it gives me 2 sodiums. Now obviously I still need more sodium, so I put a 2 there, and I now have 4, 2, 2, so I have a balanced equation. Last one here we've got hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. So hydrogens we've got 2, oxygen we've got 1 here, and another 2 there, so I've got 3 altogether, and carbon I've got 1. Here I've got hydrogen 2, I've got 3 oxygen, and I've got 1 carbon. So looking down my list, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, it's already balanced, so it is done.